Yo, what's going on? It's Sunny from SCG Sports. Hopefully, the audio video is coming out good. I know this is different. It's early in the morning as you're drinking your cup of coffee. But hey, I wanted to have my boy Ace, and you know Ace from the AFC North Talk. I appreciate Ace. He's on vacation. Dude is so committed that on vacation he was like, "Yo, Sunny, I'll get you. I'll get you." So I appreciate it, man. How you doing today?
I'm good, man. You already know I had to make this happen, man. But having a good time. We're down here in Tampa, but definitely excited to catch this game today for sure.
Yo, this is gonna be one of the best games I think in the schedule for this week. I think people are somewhat sleeping on the Bengals. I think people realize that Burrow is a guy that definitely has the potential to be one of the greatest quarterbacks moving forward in this league. At least I will say for me, I think he is a great quarterback. I have no questions about how good he is. Now, it's going to be a challenge. And Joe Burrow alluded to this. He said the Ravens are the toughest defense or the toughest team I'm going to be facing. I don't know if he said defense or team. I think he was alluding at the defense, but it could have been team. And I think he's right. In the AFC North talk I discussed about this, I said that the corners, and the reality is that the Ravens corners and the defense in general are very streaky. They like to produce turnovers. So how do you think Joe Burrow prepared to get against that defense? I know you talk about Marcus Peters. Marcus Peters is a guy that a double move and a right, vision can make him bite in, and then you can throw over on top of him. But how do you think Joe Burrow is preparing for this Ravens defense?
I think the first thing that he probably did, a lot of people forget that his dad is actually a coach himself. So I think that he sits down with his dad every week and they break down the film. They probably looked at what the Ravens defense likes to do. And then he also sits down with Zach Taylor and they kind of go through a certain amount of plays that they kind of want to use against the defense. But I think that's what it really goes into. I think that's why a lot of people like him, is that he's a very smart individual and he's got a lot of coaches that he can connect with in terms of breaking down that film. And I think that that's been a huge reason why he hasn't played like a rookie, because when he goes into it, he kind of has this added dimension where, he can talk with his dad, he can talk with Zach Taylor. So I think that he'll do that. I think, like you said, I think he's going to be aware, and I think that he's already said it, that you guys have a talented defense. So he's aware of Marcus Peters, he's aware of Marlon Humphrey and those guys. So I think that they're going to have to try to create plays where they can maybe possibly run some pick plays and stuff like that for Tyler Boyd to try to get Marlon off of him and take advantage of the mismatches. But I think that they also know, based off of last week and just really in the Zach Taylor era period, the key to this offense is getting my man, and I got the shirt on right here, my man Joe Mixon going, because there's some kind of crazy stat. Whenever Mixon is involved, this offense keeps going, and so they're going to have to do that. But I think that from that perspective, he's definitely did his research in terms of Burrow on this Ravens defense and what he can do and what he can get in terms of success from it.
Yeah, so I agree. I said that the main for the Ravens, the very basic thing that they need to do is stop the run, make that offense one-dimensional. And I will say this is probably the same approach that the Bengals are coming into this game on defense. Stop the run, make the Ravens one-dimensional, make it a passing game, because it's gonna be a rainy game. And shout out to Sutton Deft, he pointed it out. Shout out to everybody here, Jay Will, Jerry, O'Brien, Jermaine Milliner, Poon Gentry, all of you, thank you for joining the live stream. But it's going to be a rainy day in Baltimore. I think it's 100% raining throughout the day. It's cold, rainy. It's not. I don't think it's super windy, but I think it's going to be Joe Burrow's first professional game with rain. So that's going to be an added element, right? So obviously, the team. I think the team that runs the best wins the game, to be honest, especially in the conditions that it's raining. Second, the team that doesn't make, and this is just stupid. This is obvious. Whoever doesn't commit the turnovers wins the game. Think about us last year, that game that we lost against Cleveland. People don't remember this, but that game was tight all throughout. We were losing, I think, by 9. We were driving, and in the 20-yard line, I forgot the player that it was. I think it was Mark Ingram. Fumbles the ball. That changed the game. And from there on, they went up for 14. Done. So this is a game that I think defenses have to stop the run. I think the Ravens are going to be committed Don't let Joe Mixon beat you. Let the receivers beat you. Which brings me to an interesting point. The wide receiving core. We had talked extensively how good the Bengals wide receiving core is. I actually like what Higgins is doing. I thought Higgins was going to be a good wide receiver. Not yet. He has proved me wrong. If you, for the ones that watch my channel, you guys knew that I was not big on us drafting Mixing and not Mixing, sorry, Higgins in the first round, late in the first, or I said like maybe if he's there at pick 60. Obviously, the Bengals made him the first pick in the second round, and he has produced. And then you have Boyd. Me and you had talked about it. I said Boyd is very underrated. Obviously, we know him in Baltimore here for that fourth down catch that he had a couple years ago that destroyed and crushed our hearts. Still remember that. That was a very sad Christmas for all of us. But other than those two, that third and fourth guy, I think, has talent, but haven't stepped up this year. In my opinion, AJ Green. Obviously, AJ Green doesn't. We cannot talk if he's talented. There was a point that he was a top 2 or 3 receiver in the whole league, right? And he used to kill and murder the Ravens, literally. And the other guy that I think is up and down, very up and down, is John Ross. I think John Ross came as an early top 10 draft pick, and he's definitely not been a top 10 draft pick, but as production wise, he's up and down. I think if the Ravens do stop the run, one of those other two need to step up. Because I actually think Marlon Humphrey will be on Boyd. They're going to say, you're going to shadow Boyd. You're going to stop Boyd. And then probably going to say to Peters, you're going to take whoever the second wide receiver is. If it isn't a play AJ Green, if you see Higgins, that's your guy. How do you think they're going to attack? Are they going to go 5 wide? Do you think they're going to go 2 tight ends? How do you think is going to be the attack for the Bengals?
Well, I think, first of all, you mentioned John Ross. John Ross is probably inactive for this game. He's been inactive the last 2 games. They've opted to go with Auden Tate there instead. It's been kind of weird in terms of the receiving core because, like you said, the T. Higgins thing initially in the first game, like they rarely played him. And then they also had all of the receivers active. And then, there was a lot of talk on Twitter, like from certain individuals, from like his family and stuff. And they were like, man, if you throw this kid the ball, he's going to get it. Like, you got to get him some opportunities there. And the second week was just weird because that was the Browns game and they made Auden Tate inactive and he got upset. And then there was like a trade request and stuff like that. And in the next game, I believe, and I think in that game that Ross was in, the reason I feel like Ross has been benched is not because of his talent. It's because he's built up a bad reputation in Cincinnati of giving up on plays. So there was like a play in the Browns game where if he makes a better effort, it's probably a touchdown. And I think that the last straw was in the Philadelphia game. He doesn't even go after a pass over the middle. And, no one expected him to just immediately come down with it. It was a ball he could have, but it's like the lack of effort that we've seen between Ross and there's been a lot of plays, even outside of Joe Burrow, with Andy Dalton, where he's done stuff like that, and guys have taken him out of the game for it. And so we all thought going into this year, because, our fans, we kind of were annoyed with some of the errant Andy Dalton passes as well. And then when he's showing that same behavior with Joe Burrow, it's just like, man, get this guy out of the game. Like, if this guy doesn't want to play, if he doesn't want to try, and I'm not saying, I can't speak for a fact that that's what it is, but that's what people have taken away from those plays. When you have a ball there and you're not reaching out for it, or you don't even, it's been times where the ball is in the vicinity and he'll just like look at the ball and just watch it hit the ground, like not even make an effort on the play. So I think that was a part of it. And from that, like Zach Taylor and his staff, the one thing that's different between them and Marvin is they're not going to take stuff like that. So if you're not going to show up and play and do what you're doing, then they're going to take you out of the game, a la Carlos Dunlap. Not saying that he's, bad or anything or has done anything like Ross, but he wasn't making an impact. And because of that, he was benched. But back to the wide receiver core, T. Higgins, they finally started targeting him. And when they did, they were having success there. And they really started out heavily targeting AJ. And at one point, they weren't even targeting Boyd as much. And then they've kind of moved from AJ to kind of Tyler Boyd and T. Higgins. That was really what we saw a lot in a healthy dose of last game. The other thing that's interesting, though, is that they moved these guys over in different areas. So I think week one, A.J. Green had a lot of plays over in the slot area in the middle of the field. And they've also obviously used Tyler Boyd in that area. They like to just really move those guys around, but they still like to somewhat target that area of the field. Like they like to have them run even from the outside towards the middle. So I think you'll see a lot of that. And, they throw Auden Tate in every now and then. I didn't see as much 5 wide last week. Being that it's raining, like you said, I'm not sure how that affects the game plan. I'm almost kind of sad about that because I was looking forward to see both teams kind of, light up the scoreboard. But in that instance, I think that they also will get Joe Mixon in space. So another thing has been that they've been utilizing Joe Mixon as the receiver, and a lot of fans have been calling for that. And then you'll probably also see Giovanni Bernard be utilized as well in that area. Drew Sample is a guy that it's weird. It's like up and down with him. Sometimes they'll target him 7 to 9 times a game, and then there'll be other games where it's only 1 or 2. And it's because that Drew Sample is more so he's one of the top blocking tight ends in the NFL, but they drafted him really high, and they're expecting him to also make plays in the passing game, which he can. The only issue is that he's a very slow runner. He's not athletic at all. So, he'll make a catch, but then a guy's pretty much going to tackle him.
There's no yak. There's no yak.
Yeah, there's no yak at all. There's definitely no yak. So I think that you see those guys. One guy that has made some excitement that Joe Burrow actually has a rapport with as well that we haven't talked about in the wide receiver game is Mike Thomas. So this could be a game where Mike Thomas may be able to slip in there, and most people aren't thinking about Mike Thomas when you're looking at A.J. Green, when you're looking at Tyler Boyd, when you're looking at T. Higgins. He may be a guy that can sleep and slip in there and, maybe get on a linebacker or on a safety or something like that and make a play.
Yeah, definitely. And it's going to be interesting. You mentioned Joe Mixon in the passing. Giovanni Bernard, I think Giovanni Bernard is a very underrated player. I think he's not a number 1 running back. I think he is in a perfect spot. But remember, people talk about a guy like Sproles. Mm-hmm. And Sproles made a career not being a number 1 running back, but being that guy that he will run it occasionally for a decent game, but in the passing game, right? Because he will sneak out and he will catch, and now he's in space. Sproles was excellent. And I think that's what Giovanni Bernard is. The thing is, Giovanni Bernard is not as small as Sproles, but very good. And this is a game, guys, that you will see Patrick Queen being challenged. I got a lot of heat when we played KC because I was calling for Patrick Queen to get benched that day. And people are like, why? He's a rookie, blah, blah, blah. And you're right. I wasn't saying bench him for the rest of the season. But CEH was murdering him. He couldn't keep up. He was great on the run defense. He explodes to any hole that open. He's a tackling machine. But in space, he hasn't been good. He's athletic and all that, but he hasn't been good against those running backs. So I'm expecting the Bengals to exploit that. I think that is the weakest link in this defense. That running back against that wide receiver, and even if it is raining, guys, those are easier completions. We're talking if it is in space, a running back usually goes 5-6 yards at most and then creates, right? Unless it's a wheel route that they just clear all the routes to, let's call it the left side, they wheel him out to the right side, and then they're just trying to target him deep. But those plays usually need time to develop, and it's harder to pull. Go ahead.
They just moved the Broncos-Patriots game the next Monday from Tuesday. It's breaking news.
Next Monday. So they're just going to – oh, my God. Guys, right now, it's a mess, and the NFL has no answer for this. Remember what I said earlier in the year? They should have bubble. Remember, my idea was bubble all divisions, start the year against the 4, right? So the Ravens will play first 3 games. Ravens will play Bengals, Steelers, and Browns, right? And then we will have to play the East, right? All of us play the East. So then the East, NFC East, and the AFC North play each other. They bubble those 2 divisions, right? Bam, 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 bam. They all play in this little bubble. And then we have to play the South, I think is what we play this year. Yeah, the South. And we the North and the South bubble each other. And I even said if this year they want to go 14 games instead of 16, right, and forget about the top two opponents, and in your guys' case will be the third place. Forget about it. Then just give an extra bye between the bubbles, and then finish the year. And I think we'll be excited against your division again. I
Right.
think that would have been great, and then you're more contained. But nope, 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 no. They're at this point, I don't even know what they're gonna do, guys. It's gonna be mad. It's gonna be a mess at some point. I think all Thursday night games should be canceled, and Thursday should be days to make up in case somebody needs to make up, because obviously they're going and making shit up as they go. They're not. They're
Right.
not. There's no plan. There's no plan here.
No.
Anyway, let's go back to this game. Look, so saying that, I think that is the biggest mismatch. Joe Mixon in the running game, I think the Ravens can contain him. Joe Mixon and Giovanni Bernard in the passing attack, and those linebackers hold them out. I don't know. Our linebackers have been playing okay in the run. I don't know about yours, because I know before the season we started, we talk about, well, you have rookie linebackers. We essentially have rookie linebackers, except for you guys have oh my god, I can't believe Bynes, and we have LJ first. So I'm gonna ask you, how's your linebacking core looking into quarter of the season?
I think it's starting to look a lot better. Your boy out of Wyoming has really looked really good for us.
I love
He
him.
actually missed the Logan Wilson actually missed the last game, and he really came into his own in that Philadelphia game, and he was looking like the guy that we looked for. I think he actually finished that game with like an 85 point PFF score, which is amazing because he just
Good.
really was trying to find his way. Like you said, when you have rookie linebackers with no preseason, as you guys probably know, it's hard to get them those reps. It's harder to get them that experience, and they're kind of learning on the fly, right? And so our linebackers have been way more athletic than they have been in the past. However, when you're rolling that fast and you're going in the wrong direction, that can definitely cause some issues. But I think Logan Wilson has really solidified himself as probably the best linebacker there. You've got Jermaine Pratt in his second year. He started off a little shaky. He's been up and down as well. He's been somewhat solid. And then you got Josh Bynes. And like you said, he isn't a full-time guy, so they use him here and there.
Mhm.
Started off pretty good, but then has been somewhat shaky. But he's kind of the leader there in that locker
Oh,
room. And
yeah.
apparently, I think right after the last game, he met with the defense about Lamar Jackson. So I don't know what he told them in terms of that, but he's helping guys in that phase. But I think that the linebackers are much improved from what they were last year, which isn't hard to say because we probably had the worst linebacking core in the entire NFL last year. But we're gonna get a big test today because obviously when you have someone like Lamar Jackson, you don't want to be the guy that gets put on the spin cycle like Nick Vigil did last season. So it's definitely going to be that. And then you also have to talk about Akeem Davis Gaither, who's a very talented and physically gifted linebacker, but he's still kind of figuring things out as well. He's had 2 rough weeks in a row, but he's a guy that they can really just use as a Swiss Army knife. Like he can do all kinds of things. He can rush the passer. He can sit back in coverage. He's small enough to be able to move around a little bit. So I wouldn't be surprised to see if they try to have him either spy LJ or attack LJ and stuff like that. I think that he'll be the guy to try to do that. In terms of stopping the run, the linebackers haven't really been the issue per se there. It's really been the defensive line, and we're getting a big boost today with Geno Atkins coming back because we were just really depleted at that position because you talk about Geno Atkins being out, also Mike Daniels being out. I was worried last week when we went against Jacksonville because of those injuries, because we saw how it affected us against Cleveland. And I think now, like we've said on the AFC North Talk, maybe it's just that Cleveland running offense is just crazy and
Oh yeah.
amazing. But I was definitely worried. I'm not gonna lie. I was definitely worried going into Jacksonville against James Robinson. They were able to hold him down to 75, but that was somewhat a little bit inflated because Robinson had like a 15-yard run shortly after that, but it was called back because of a penalty. So it seemed like he was going to finally get it going after they gave up 50 rushing yards in the first half. So linebackers have been okay, and hopefully that D line can get a boost. But so far, if I had to give the linebackers a grade going in from last season, I would say a F. I think right now they're kind of at like a C minus, approaching a C, maybe with Logan Wilson. So we'll have to see today.
Yeah, and like you said, this is a big test for both linebacking core, but I would say for the Bengals a little bit more because in the case, yeah, Burrow can run, but Burrow is not gonna run unless there's a lane, right? Or
Right.
unless it's like a 3rd and 6, everybody's cover, right? But Lamar Jackson, any given down, he can run.
Right.
And so you are dealing with an added element in the case of the linebacking core for the Bengals. So definitely it's a big test for them. I think this is it's gonna be an interesting one again. With the if it is really rainy, we'll see how much is raining during the game. But that obviously adds to the element of running the ball. Also, you have to be worried about the fumbles because that ball is wet. I know at least my guy Marlon Humphrey that he has made that $100 million. He just got paid. That's all he does. He
Yeah.
when he tackles, he looks for punching that ball. So look for that to happen. So for the Bengals, they need to just carry that ball,
Cover
especially
the
if they
cover
see,
the ball.
yeah,
Yeah, because you
yeah,
guys, I saw that when I was doing the game plan. You guys have forced 7 fumbles and recovered 6
mm-hmm,
of them, and this is only
yeah,
4 games. So I was like, man, hold that ball. Even receivers, I'm like you
yeah,
said, hold on to that ball because yeah, with it being a rainy game, that's definitely what you guys are aiming to do for sure.
yeah. So Wing Martindale, he practiced punching the ball in every single play. Now, O line wise, let's talk about both of our O lines. Both of our O lines haven't been playing great. Our tackles, in the case of the Ravens, have playing really good. Stanley's coming back. I told you guys, and I told Ace this too. They were, in my opinion, very low key disrespectful of the Washington team because I figure they were like, Stanley, you're not feeling great. Can you play? If it was a must game, you could play. But we even if we get pressure, we should be beating these guys. So take a week off, come back, and that's what happened. Stanley
Mhm.
will be back in today. Orlando Seuss
Brown.
Brown, thank you. Orlando Brown will be there on the right tackle. Our center, which he is trash, and that's the one that I want to talk about. He will be there. The left guard also pretty good. He's be there, and the right guard is injured now. He's a 3rd round rookie. He has been up and down. I can see them taking him out and putting Fuller there. Or if they don't want to put Fuller because he's the swing tackle and they want to in a rainy day have him rested just in case somebody pulls something and gets injured. We had like 4 guards backing everybody up, right? So I think in the case of the Bengals against the Ravens O line, I'm not as worried about Dunlap, Herbert. I'm more worried about Reader, Atkins, and that interior D line, especially because my center and whoever they put in the right guard position, they haven't been great. Lamar's this year has getting a lot of pressure to the middle, through that middle, which is crazy, right? Last year that wasn't happening. Obviously, we lost a Hall of Famer, Matriyanda. The tackle position has been pretty good, but that middle, I'm worried about. What do you guys think? How you guys are gonna attack that center of the O line against the Ravens?
I think Geno Atkins. Fortunately for us, I think a lot of Bengals fans have been looking forward to seeing Geno Atkins play with another dominant defensive tackle. This has been for years that we've been waiting for this. We thought that it was going to be the case with Andrew Billings, but now we've got DJ Reader, and DJ Reader has really lived up to the expectations. Like even though he's been by himself on that defensive line, he's really done a great job. He's really came and brought his lunch pail every day. Geno Atkins, though, I wonder with him having so much time out, how many snaps he's actually going to play. He's always been a guy that's limited his snaps. A lot of people don't realize
Mm-hmm.
that. But he played the most snaps that he ever did last season in his career, and it kind of wore him down. And it was really an aspect of him just fighting by himself. Like a lot of people thought, including myself, that he took a step back. And I talked with a guy that breaks down a ton of Bengals film, like literally every game. And he was like, no, it wasn't that he fell off. It was that he didn't have any help. And he was like, we need to get some help in there for him. So I think that's one of their plans. You talk about the edges. Carl Lawson is a monster right now. So I think that you do have to worry
I
about
lost
him.
him. Sorry, I
Um,
forgot him.
Lawson right now, he's got 3.5 sacks. I mean, I've always talked about it, and we talked about it on AFC North Talk. He's been a guy that can really get to the quarterback. He just has never really all put it all together. And I think this season he's really doing a great job of that. I mean, this guy's on pace to have a sack in every game right now. potentially, depending on where you look at. So I think that you do have to worry about him. I think that that's why he also got the start. He's also good against the run as well. He had a false narrative about him where, he wasn't a good run stopper because he was considered such a good edge rusher. But he can actually do that as well. So I think, like you said, protecting the middle, DJ Reader and Geno Atkins, I think, would definitely attack there. And then another interesting thing when I had Carl Lawson on is he told me every defensive end does not have the same kind of role in that defense. So you may see some guys like Sam Hubbard, they might just be trying to contain or sit there on the edge to watch Lamar Jackson instead of going after him. So I don't know exactly what the game plan is. I think that is special. And I think the main reasons, a lot of people don't realize it, but if you really look at a lot of the Bengals moves, a lot of them this offseason were made with Lamar Jackson and the Ravens in mind. I don't think that this team was built for like a Pittsburgh Steelers or a Cleveland Browns. I think that it was specifically built for them to try to get better against guarding Lamar Jackson in that running Ravens offense. So I think you'll see a lot of that there from the defensive line. They've got some other guys that they kind of throw in there that are under the radar, and they've found some of these guys just simply because of so many injuries. There's one guy, undrafted college free agent, Armani Bledsoe. He really made some plays. And I don't know if that's a product of the Jacksonville offensive line not being good, but that kid also kind of flashed. And you're going to have Carlos Dunlap, I think, exclusively in this game now being used as a pass rusher on third down. So I don't know if that's going to mean that Lawson is on one side and Dunlap's on the other, because typically Dunlap plays on one side and Hubbard plays on one side, and they bring Lawson in off the bench on third downs, and now that's been switched, but now Lawson's on the other side. So I think that's what you'll see from the defensive line, especially trying to jam up that middle. And then I think you'll also see Christian Covington there as well, which is a guy that they traded for earlier.
Yeah, so for me, it's no disrespect on Lawson, Dunlap, or none of those guys, because I did rank the Bengals D-line as one of the best in this division before the season started. But both tackles already went against Myles Garrett. Stanley, usually what they do against Stanley is, this sucks for Brown, is when we play, for example, the Browns, Garrett did minimal against Stanley. Like, he's like, no, I'm not dealing with this dude. He went with Brown. But even Brown held his own, right? Same thing. J.J. Watt said, like, nah, I'm going to go against Brown.
Right.
And against the Chiefs, the dude that Frank, also to the right side. So, in the case of the I was gonna say the name again, the Washington football team, both pass rushers are pretty good, Kerrigan and Sweat. But I think the tackles have been proven. It's just the interior for me. The interior worries me a lot. I'm not gonna lie, especially Skura, which is the center. He came out too early, in my opinion, for a horrific knee injury. Any CL he had in his knee, he blew up. And that was in week 10 last year. And he started this year. I think he's not healthy. He had a great year last year to that point. I think he needs to just sit down. He looks slow. He looks glued to the ground, meaning not necessarily in the floor, but his knees look like he can move his feet too quick enough for that defense. Now, let's flip it to the other side. The Bengals O-line, we had talked. I mean, again, I don't know if I'm making a reputation for being the trenches guy, because I'm always talking about the trenches. But I think it's important. I think it's very, very important. It's not the sexiest position, especially O-lineman. D-linemen get a little bit more spark, but O-line is not sexy at all. So Jonah Williams, I love the kid. I thought he was the best tackle the year before. You guys got him. I thought that was a great draft pick for you guys. But the main thing with Jonah Williams, he's still learning the position, right? He took a year off. Now, I don't think he is as behind as a rookie tackle, but he's still learning. I mean, he has 4 games under his belt. So I think the Ravens will test him with stunts and all that. But it's the other side that we are concerned over there in the Bengals with Bobby Hart. I think Bobby Hart, they need to utilize him and just run the ball through that side to get Bobby Hart going, right? To get Bobby Hart going. I think as a pass blocking, he is bad. I actually think Calais Campbell this week should move to that side and test Bobby Hart and confuse him and Judon, right? Tag teaming and confusing him. Now, saying that, we know about your outside, but I wanted you to tell me, how is your O line looking so far in the quarter end of this year, and how do you expect them to hold a pedestrian? Let's be honest, my Ravens fan, our pass rush as the 4 or 5 guys, it's okay at best. So, how do you think your O line matches with this pass rush?
It's tough to say right now because there's a combination of things going on, right? There's an O line that's learning to play together. There's also
Mhm.
Joe Burrow who also has to learn to get rid of the ball and not hold it on, and he's been responsible for some of those sacks as well. And then you also look at the fact that they've gone against premium edge rushers week one against Kansas City. I mean, not Kansas City, but Los Angeles with the Chargers, with them having Bosa and Ingram there. And then you look at the second week going against Myles
Okay,
Garrett.
I,
They've
I
went
can't
against
hear
some
Ace.
really. Are you there? Hold on. Can you guys hear me or no? I'll leave and come back in.
Internet, which is lovely. Hopefully, there you go. And let me
Hey,
do this.
can you guys hear me?
Ace, are you there, man?
Yeah, I'm here. Can you hear me?
Are you there, bro? Oh,
Yeah, I'm
no,
here.
no, hi.
Can you hear me? You there?
Oof, look at this here.
Sonny, we're live, right? Can you hear me?
Now I can. Yeah, 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 yeah. I can
Okay.
hear you. We are back. I lost the hoodie because I got hot because I get mad when this shit happens. But anyway, I didn't hear anything that you said about your O line. I'm sorry. Can you repeat
No,
that?
no, no problem. All right. So the offensive line, I think it's a mixed bag right now. It's hard to really tell because the first week they had to go against Melvin Ingram and Joey Bosa. They did somewhat solid. Still gave up some plays there. And then the next week you're going against Myles Garrett, right? So they made some mistakes there. And then you had the Eagles game, which was just crazy because Joe Burrow is getting hit 8 times, 17 hits on the drawbacks there. That Eagles defensive line is amazing, right? They're 8 deep there. But
Mm-hmm.
it's been a mix. It's been hard to just really blame it on one particular person on that offensive line. Even though we've seen some issues with the right side of the line, there's also been the combination of Joe Burrow sometimes holding on to the ball too long and causing some of those sacks. So I think the offensive line was credited with, I think, like maybe 5 or 6 in that game. And then there were 2 that were on Joe Burrow. And that's been the theme, is when people have been trying to chew out the offensive line, the coaches and even Joe Burrow himself has said, well, some of those sacks have been on me. So I think that last week we really saw a lot of heat. The other issue as well is the Bengals signed a right guard, Xavier Suafilo, to come in and man that right guard position. And he did well in the first game, and then he ended up getting injured in that game. And ever since then, they were really just trying to figure out that right guard position. So they tried with Fred Johnson. He was extremely bad. They tried with Billy Hart. He was extremely bad. And that right side of the line, as a result, collapsed. And, it got to the point where I didn't have any faith in it. And then you saw the last game, they ended up going back and getting a guy, Alex Redmond, that they actually cut, who had been familiar with the Bengals for years. They put him in, and this offensive line gave up no sacks, which was crazy because we went into that thinking it. But it also could be a product of Jacksonville not having a great pass rush versus those first 3 teams that were just really good at getting after the passer. But I think now you're seeing them get on the same page. Even though Bobby Hart has not been great in the pass blocking game, he's been amazing in the run blocking game. So he's been able to put it together there. Jonah Williams now has had 2 solid games in a row. He struggled early on, like you said. He was still trying to learn and stuff like that. He's really had 2 good games in a row. Michael Jordan has been average at that left guard position, which is what we kind of need as long as he's not blowing it up there. You've got Trey Hopkins, who's a very decent center there. He had some miscues himself, but you don't really expect that to be a theme. And then Alex Redmond will have to see this game what he does. And Bobby Hart, he's the guy that is somewhat of the lightning rod for this offensive line, and teams kind of target him. So I think if the Ravens do plan to have success, you might want to do that there. And then they've also been running some jumbo packages at times, and also have had some of their running backs help in terms of pass protection as well. So they really did a very good job last week. I don't think anyone expected them to not give up 0 sacks. And so I think this week, this is truly a benchmark to see if this offensive line really has turned the curve, or whether there's still a weakness, and we'll have to see.
Okay, so my guys, thank you for everybody that joined me on the live stream. I appreciate it, guys. I know it's early. I appreciate my guy Ace Boogie, and I appreciate you guys dealing with my technical difficulties. Yeah, I'm not saying that Europe's internet is bad, but this Airbnb, let's be honest, why would they have high-speed internet, right? If they're not using it every time. So anyway, I appreciate all you guys. Now, let's go to the score prediction before this thing gets effed up again. Okay. I think we broke up pretty good the game. I think one guy that we haven't talked about, and it's actually from the Bengals, is Bates. So if you want to talk about Bates before giving your score prediction, you can. But I think this game is going to be really good, guys. I think there's going to be not like last week's game. Last week's game for me was a snoozer. My wife said, you don't look like you're enjoying the game. I was like, no, I'm enjoying it. I'm just relaxing because, we're playing against that team, So the no-name team. But I'll give you the floor first. Ace, what do you think the score prediction is? Any crazy play that you think might happen, or any turning point? Go.
I think that this is a game that the Bengals had marked on the calendar. I think when you talk about front office down, this is a game that really is going to define, I think, the season for us, especially competing in the AFC North, even more so than the Browns game, even more so than the Steelers game. I think you guys are obviously the crowned team in this division, and you have to be able to try to take a shot at the king and see if you can try to do something there. And with them losing so many games early on, initially I was looking at the schedule. I was like, this is going to be a game that they're going to lose, because we'll get past some of these early ones and be able to go into this game and take a L. Well, now the Bengals can't afford to do that because they've lost so many games, and I think that they're trying to build onto the momentum that they had in the last game. And I think for them, this is low-key kind of a must-win for them to stay in this division race. I think it means more to them than it does to Baltimore. I'm not saying that Baltimore doesn't want to get this win, but I think that you're going to see them try to come out hot. And I think the equalizer in all of these games, when you look at it, all of these games they've been in is because of Joe Burrow. And I think that I'm very excited to see this matchup between Joe Burrow and Lamar Jackson. I think it's being underrated, like you stated earlier. And I think because of Joe Burrow, if he's able to get some time, if they're able to get this offense going and they can get up on the Ravens, I think that they have a chance to win this game. So with that said, I know that there's the weather thing going on. We did have a game. I think the Eagles game, there was some rain or some stuff in there at one point in the game. I feel like both of these offenses, though, they score. I think that that's one thing that they do. And I think that this game will be in the 30s for sure. And I think I'm just going to stick with my prediction just to be consistent on all platforms. And I'm going to go with the Bengals over the Ravens 33-30.
Okay. So I think it's going to be a good game too. I changed my tune a little bit in this game because the rain. I thought it was going to be a little bit higher score than what I'm going to predict. I think the Ravens will be a battle again. We won by 17, but Washington game, they scored a touchdown very late in that game, and after that they attempted the outside kick. We took it. We kneel. Game over. So it was not even that close. 17. It was more than 17 points. And it's not going to be the case in this game. I think this game is going to be a battle. I think the Ravens will go up by 7 in halftime and keep that 7-point lead throughout. So it'll be a back and forth throughout. But I'm not as high scoring as you think, Ace. I have this game going 27-20 Ravens. I think a couple field goals from both kickers. I know the Bengals kicker has had his miscues. I'm not going to predict any missed kicks this week. But I think it's going to go 27-20. I think it's going to be a late drive by Joe Burrow, but we are going to stop him. And which will be very exciting, obviously, for me because we stop him. But I think as the game is going, because the game is going to be competitive, I think, like I said, I think the Ravens will go up by 7 at halftime. Then you will see Bengals tying. Ravens might go ahead by 3. And then I think it's going to be, like I said, a back and forth game. I think it's going to be a good game. It should be a must watch this week for anybody that is looking into the future of the league. Again, no sleep on the Bengals. I think the Bengals are really good. I hear my guys here having some bigger predictions than what I have, and that's okay. Again, I think it's going to be a more competitive game than that. But anyway, guys, thank you for joining this live stream. I appreciate Ace. Ace is on vacation over there in Tampa. Is it raining over there?
No, it's not raining so far. So far, so
Okay.
good, man.
So it's beautiful in Tampa. I cannot say the same thing here in the UK. In the UK, it's cold and wet. But anyway, if you want to check Ace Boogie's channel, and dudes and ladies, this guy has all the interviews you can imagine with all pro people, coaches, players. This guy has them all. Go check him out. In the description, you will see behind enemy lines at Ace Boogie. And it looks like a hyperlink. You hit that thing, boom, jumps to Ace Boogie's channel. Go subscribe. Also, AFC North Talk. Because Tuesday, we're going to talk about this game on Tuesday. Ravens win, Ravens lose, gets a draw. Doesn't matter. It's 4 of us. It's not my show. It's all 4 of us. So come join the conversation, AFC North Talk. Tuesdays and Thursdays, 5:45 p.m. Eastern with Ace, me, Tony, and Quincy, the Browns fan. Anyway, thank you, everybody. Thank you, Ace. I will see you next time. Peace out.